12:30.
Oh, that's right. You guys got to do it.
And I'll probably get there soon. Even after I got to the room, I'll probably
I
get there.
forgot I forgot to change that the hour ahead. So I was working on it. I shut it off. And then I was like, I was supposed to get 7 o'clock. They can keep them up with somebody else.
Right.
You know, you said the first guy in, we've got at least 5 or 7 things.
Check.
Sometimes.
You look like a guy back in the day wearing a bunch of features.
All right. How's everybody doing today? Good. All right, so Mike Unplugged was late last night, so a lot of people will be filtering in over the next hour or so. But a lot of people asked about the schedule, so I wanted to try to at least give you an idea of what we'll be going over today, and then we'll get jumped right in. So I'm going to go ahead and open today talking about the cash and credit approval formula. So we're going to be talking a little bit about business credit financing, how it ties into your business. Now, Jason, I love this. This is so much excitement. It's interesting because we're going to have a couple different groups of people in here. We're going to have people that are selling business credit with us, and we're going to have people that aren't actively selling business credit with us, even some people that are just getting started. So we're going to try to make sure that the content today applies to everybody. It lifts up and helps those that are clients see exactly how certain aspects should be done, from presentations to talking about benefits, to those people that aren't familiar, teaching you a lot of the fundamentals of business credit financing. So we're going to be going over that at 9 to 10:15, from 9 to 10:15. Then from 10:15 to 11:15, we're going to have Megan Christensen on. She's going to do some really cool stuff with business credit, even showing you some cool interviews with CEOs and their response to business credit, or what they do and don't know relating to business credit. Whoa, it's loud. It's getting louder up here. And then from after that, I think we're going to have actually a break right here from 11:15 to 11:30. And then we are going to come back in here from 11:30 to 12:45. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about actually offering business credit financing as a service. For those of you that are already offering business credit financing as a service, I think you're going to get a lot of benefit out of that, because you're going to get a lot of points of how to do a proper presentation that I think are going to be very beneficial. Then we're going to come back. We're going to break for lunch after that. After we come back for lunch, we're going to dive into funding with one of my personal favorite people in the world, Dex Leonard. So he's going to introduce you to funding and a lot of things that you should know about funding, what's hot in funding right now, and a lot of really cool different things. Now, Dex is like the anti-me. Like, we are complete opposite style-wise. He's like laid back, chill, and I'm like go, go, go all the time. So I think he'll be a perfect person right there. Then we're going to be jumping in, and we're actually going to be going over force multipliers with Dave Freeze. So did everybody like seeing Dave last night? You guys see? Okay. Well, Dave's going to be doing kind of a continuation of some of the stuff that we went over last night at that time for that hour. We might even be doing like a cool meditation thing with Dave near the end of the day also. So then I'm going to be jumping in. I'm going to be talking about advertising. Is there anybody here that could benefit from learning on exactly what works for credit repair business credit advertising? Right. Cool. Well, we've been testing a lot of that stuff on our own dime, and been able to come in here, and I'm going to show you exactly what's working and what's not, to just really expedite the learning curve, to help you leave here with actionable info. And that's the goal of today, is I want you to leave to just be able to take immediate action. There's a lot of ideas and concepts which are fantastic. In my opinion, the best are the ones you can immediately put into action the minute you leave the event. And that's what I like, is for you to be able to leave with an action plan of things you can immediately implement. We're going to get a lot of it during that actual hour. And then one of the things I'm probably most excited about is going to be our 5 to 6 o'clock session. Because this is something, I won't get too in depth, but I'll tell you, I've looked for many years to find what I finally found. And I think it's something it's something that's going to be majorly beneficial to all of you. It's going to be easy to incorporate in your business and help you start making a lot of money. Kind of almost while you sleep, which is kind of crazy, but it's something I think is really going to benefit your business, and something that's going to be able to make you a lot of money in a short period of time. So we're going to have a special guest up, one of my favorite partners, Sadie Northup's going to be joining us at 5 to 6 to go over that. And then we're going to break for dinner, and 7:15 to 8:15, we're going to be actually say 7:15 to 8:45, we're actually going to be doing a lot of different things. We're going to be doing a presentation on how to interview and close. I had a lot of questions about that, whether it be credit repair, business credit, whatever it is. I'm going to walk you through and dissect an actual, real sales closing process with the best insight in the industry to know exactly how to sell and close, how to interview, how to use interview questions to close. So a lot of that's going to be powerful. We also have kind of an open mic mastermind with a lot of our top producing partners. We'll either be on the stage in the audience, we'll be working through that. And then we create a mastermind for you. So we put you in groups, you actually create a mastermind. So when you leave here, you have, first of all, an accountability partner to make sure you do all the stuff that you're telling yourself right now you're going to do. And then we're also going to put you in your own mastermind, so you can actually mastermind and have a group to work with and grow together when you leave. So that's some of the stuff that we're actually going to be going over today. Let me see if I can find a way to get rid of this thing right now. I got all kinds of PDFs in here. And then we'll get started. So we'll get right to this. Hey, James. Is James here?
Sir.
How do I get this thing closed down so I can get to the presentation part?
Top right hand corner.
Let me go top right. The presentation, the actual. All right, we are ready to go. Let's see how we are. Okay. So for those of you that I haven't had the opportunity to yet meet, my name is Crandall. I'm actually the CEO of a company called Credit Suite. And what we do is we actually help you offer business credit and financing as a service. So first of all, I'm going to give you an apology in advance. I do happen to be vertically challenged, and I'm not a fan of stages. So some of you might be cranking your necks to see me wandering through the crowd at all my 5'6" frame. But hopefully that's not a problem, because I'm not much of a stand-on-stage guy. I kind of feel, I've come to the boot camp from the very first year. I actually owned a credit repair company, and I built it and sold it. So I can provide a lot of insight to you on exactly how to do that. And a lot of the systems I'll be talking to you about today are exactly how I did that. So I think a lot of you are in the beginning stages of just starting a business, and some of you are throughout, but I think a lot of you have the intention of getting to that end goal that I got to, so I'll be able to give you a lot of insight there. So I kind of feel more at home down here, just because I spent so many years down here with everybody learning as you're learning. So today we're going to be diving into the cash and credit approval formula. We're going to talk about how business owners get credit, get money. Now, everybody kind of has a reason of what brought them here. For me, I have a lot of interesting things in my life. But I remember a time when I was 20 years old and I was in intensive care. And I wasn't a patient. At that point in my life, I was in the Air Force, and my job was to work as a medic. And what I did when the group wasn't out at war, my role was to actually work within a hospital. Actually, I worked within an intensive care unit. My specific role was to recover cardiothoracic heart surgery patients. So whenever somebody would have a valve replacement, somebody would have a CABG, an open heart surgery, when they would come out of the operating room, within minutes they would be in my hands, and I worked as a function of basically a nurse, and my other partner and I would recover that patient until they were stable, and then ultimately they would go to a floor to recover. And I remember one night I came in, and I looked at the board, and I had one patient assigned to me. And I can tell you when you're in ICU and you have one patient, it's never a good thing. That means something's really, really wrong with that patient. And what was even stranger was it was like 7:30 and the patient hadn't arrived. And usually in open heart surgery case, they would get to us about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So we got the call from the OR saying they were bringing him up, and sure enough, it wasn't good. He had actually coded a couple times on the table during the surgery, and when they brought him up, I saw something that at that point in my life, actually the only point in my life I'd ever seen. Usually when they come back from surgery, they'll have staples from about right here to about right here. And in this case, the patient didn't have any staples. He actually came to us with his chest still wide open. Now, he had a clear film bandage over it, and it was covered in betadine to prevent infection. But regardless, you could look right there and see his heart beating, which was something at 20 years old was extremely interesting. So we managed to get him as stable as we could get him. And about 1:30 in the morning, the inevitable happened, which is that he coded again. This wasn't a surprise to us. The reason that we had left the chest cavity open was that was pretty much expected to happen, as hit and miss as he was. So we actually took him back down to the OR. And my role in the transport team was I had straddled him on the gurney and I was doing chest compressions to try to keep him stable. What had happened was his heart went into something called VFib, ventricular fibrillation. So instead of a heart beating normally as it does, pumping blood throughout the body, in this case it kind of went into a fluttering. And the result of that is that the heart can't properly push blood throughout the body in order to give blood where it's needed, such as your brain. So that was my job, was to manually make that happen until we got to the OR. So we got to the OR, and the entire transport team left except for the surgery team, and I was asked to stay. It was a really weird circumstance because the head cardiothoracic surgeon was named Dr. Trevor Axford, and this guy was not liked. He was mean. Everybody disliked him, but for some reason, him and I just got along perfectly. And I think it's because he was so detail-oriented, and most people just didn't act exactly the way he expected them to act. And I was very precise when following instructions. So him and I just always got along well. And he'd asked me to actually stay in through the surgery. So here I am, 20 years old, and I'm probably the patient's in between us, and you're the surgeon, and he's actually doing surgery and explaining to me what he's doing every step of the way. And this is what I love about the military. You just don't get that kind of experience at that age, to be able to do and be part of that and sit through a 5-hour surgery where they fix damage and explain to you every step of the way what happened. So it ended up that we got him back to the floor and we got him stabilized. And as I was talking to his wife about what had happened, I said, it's like a medical miracle. I mean, this is what happened, and it's just so crazy. And she started laughing. And I thought it was such a weird reaction. And then she told me that, if I knew him, it wouldn't be shocking at all. And went on to explain that how driven he was, how dedicated of a person he was, how ambitious he was, and how that carried him through some of the biggest adversities he'd ever had in his life. And it was really eye-opening, but she was right, because weeks later he was back out on the street and he lived a long and happy life. I know because I kept in touch with him and amongst many other patients. But I got to tell you, in my time in the military, I saw several of these circumstances where people came back from the dead multiple times. I mean, they fought what medically shouldn't have even been possible. And when you would talk to people that knew them, they would say the same thing. This person was one of the most dedicated, driven person that you'd ever meet. It just wasn't even surprising to them because they were so much of a fighter. So when I got out of the military, I looked at these lessons and I learned a lot of things. One thing I learned was that I genuinely really love to help people. It was very rewarding to help, provide a benefit to somebody, to be able to help them better their life, whether it be health-wise or another purpose. I also realized that drive, determination, dedication alone in life can get you anything you want. There's no restriction. I mean, if I could see somebody literally come back from the dead multiple times just because they're a fighter, then I think you can use that exact same strength to be able to be highly successful at every aspect of your life. And mostly I learned that life is crazy short, it's crazy unpredictable. You just never know like what's going to happen. So you have to do what you love. You have to do what you're passionate about. Because we spend, what, a third of the time of our lives working? So when I got out of the military, I went in and became a business owner. I mean, to me, that was always what I was passionate about. And being a business owner was everything I thought it would be. Tons of money, no work, I just play all the time. Well, okay, maybe it didn't work out like I thought it would be. The truth is, as entrepreneurs, that's not the case at all. To make this my water, I drew a circle around the card, so I know that this is my water. So you don't think I'm drinking anybody else, although there's nobody else in the front row to do that. The truth is, being an entrepreneur, it's hard. You know, in a lot of cases, we pay our company and our employees before ourselves. Our time is sometimes seamless. It blends our personal and work time, as our spouses and family tell us. Sometimes they don't know when we're working and when we're even home. We spend so much time working. It's tremendous amounts of sacrifice. And in a lot of cases, it's extremely rewarding. And then on the other end, you know, sometimes it doesn't necessarily work out. Has anybody in here ever started a business that didn't work out, or had a business that actually failed? Yeah, a lot of you. It sucks, right? I owned a mortgage business, the height of the mortgage, whatever, the height when it was, you know, the height of the industry, the height before the crash, I guess you'd say. And I loved it. It was probably one of the most rewarding things I've ever done, because helping people get into their home, like helping them accomplish the American dream, was just an amazing, amazing experience. But what I did was jumbo loans, $1 million plus loans, and that niche went away really fast. As a matter of fact, I walked into work one day, and we had a bunch of loans that were going to close, and the lender just said they couldn't close them with no explanation. It's really weird. So we moved into another lender and had the same problem, another lender and had the same problem. We knew something was up. Within a week, everything had crashed. Our job was to get people loans, and we could not close a loan. It was impossible. And that continued for about 6 months for us. And we built a lot of reserves and done a lot of the right things, but when you don't earn a dime personally or business-wise for 6 months, it's tough. When it finally did recover, about 90% of our revenue income was gone. So a lot of decisions were made. Possibly could have probably held on and paid our employees out of money from our personal side longer than I probably should have, who knows. But I don't regret any of the decisions that were made. But unfortunately, in the end, lost everything. Business shut down. And unfortunately, I had personally guaranteed everything for the business. So when the business started to crumble, because of nothing that I could have really done to prevent it, then everything just collapsed on the personal side. I mean, the thing started to roll over to our personal credit. So all the credit limits we thought we had a cushion, we have assets, we've got this. Well, that went away immediately. The minute damage started to happen, anybody we had credit with just dropped our limits to what we owed. So all the credit was gone immediately. Our cars were taken, and eventually we ended up losing our home too. And this was the home that my wife and I built for our kids to be born and raised in. And I will never forget standing in the family room of our home, like in a warm embrace with my wife, and she's just bawling, saying, "Why is this happening to us? What have we done?" And I mean, honestly, if I'm not, like I feel it now, but if I'm not in front of you, it still brings me to tears today, because as a provider to a family, when you have the inability to provide, man, it is the worst feeling ever in life. I mean, it feels horrible. It feels like you had the biggest disappointment you could ever be. And I think that's why we're here. I mean, most of us are here for our families. And these are my kids. Cash and Chanel, you'll hear me talking about. You've probably seen these little guys running around the hall the last couple of days. And luckily for us, you know, and I went all the way to a bankruptcy attorney, paid him the money, had the paperwork ready to file, and I sat there and said, "I can't do this. I just know it's wrong." And we ended up fighting our way back, paying our way out of it, and eventually ended up even getting back our home. And our home is the exact same place that we were actually able to raise our kids in. So it actually ended up being really well, because I got into credit repair business and ended up making my way back. But we all have our motivator, and you know, we all have the reason that we're here. We all want to succeed. But unfortunately, statistics are against us. You know, most businesses fail. Most businesses do not succeed. 20% of businesses fail within the first year of being in business. Okay, within 5 years, half of the business are closed. If you look to your left, if you look to your right, and see somebody sitting beside you, either you or them won't be here in 5 years in the business. And it gets worse, because when you look even further out, as far out as 15 years, 75%, 3 out of 4 businesses will fail. So if you're looking at 4 people in a row, 3 of those 4 will not be in business. So unfortunately, as much as we want to succeed statistically, we have a lot of things against us. And here's a chart where you can actually see at the beginning, year 1, 100% of businesses are there, and then you see the curve. And what's interesting about the curve is the first probably 4 years. It's almost just a straight down. Most people just do not make it through this initial phase. And once they do, it have proven themselves, and you can see it evens itself out. So the longer you could be in business, the greater chance of success that you really do have. Now, per the SBA, there's 2 major reasons for business failure. One is management issues, bad decisions, lack of experience. And I get that, right? Because we figure stuff out as we go. Has anybody in here ever been on a phone call and somebody asked you a question and you're using Google to get the answer? Yeah, me too. Oh, sir, I can tell you all about that. Let me see. We just figure crap out as we go. So it makes sense that bad decisions and lack of experience are part of the reasons that businesses fail. And insufficient capital is the second biggest reason that businesses fail. They don't have money. Now, personally, I love this. I'm so excited. This is great news because you can control both of these things. Management, well, I can learn. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'll figure it out. Like, I'll learn. If I don't know something, I'll be up at 1 in the morning with audio books, reading books. I'll figure it out. And that's what makes us entrepreneurs, that drive. Like, we will figure it out. So we can learn our way out of a lot of things. And today you're going to learn about the ins and outs of getting money, getting credit, getting financing for your actual business. That's not actually not available. It's just a cash access problem. People don't know where to go to get it. We're going to fix that today. Here's the other beautiful part. They complement each other. You see, when you have money, you can make bad decisions. You have more room to play. But when you're getting into something and you have no money, even the slightest bad decision puts you on the curve of going out of business. It makes sense. But when you have money, then what happens is you have room to learn as you go. You have room to make decisions and recover. They're not devastating to your business. As a matter of fact, the more money you have, the more mistakes you can afford to miss, where you can make mistakes and still recover. You can expect a learning curve as we should all expect. Okay, but it's always funny. And I talked to an entrepreneur the other day, and I don't know if he's actually here. And he said, look, if I get 200 of these customers, I'm making this much money a month. Well, what's funny is I hear so much of us think that way. But then the question becomes, well, what's your plan to get to 200? Well, I don't know that yet. But I'm basing my whole life around the outcome of that happening. And we all tend to do that. We all tend to say, well, when I got a credit card, man, if I get 100 customers a month, this is going to be easy. I'm going to make this is $50,000 a month when this recruits. I'm going to be rich. It's over. Like 3 years later, I'm like, how do we get 100 customers a month? I cannot figure out this formula. So it's just, and hopefully I'll give you a lot of insight today that helps your learning curve not be as great. But the bottom line is that the more money we have, the more we actually have to make mistakes. So let me ask you a question. Where would you go if you need money? Throw me out something. Right answer. I'm out of here. Have a nice day. You're right. I mean, 75% of people actually end up going to friends and family. Okay, and that's one of the things I've heard. 75% of people do go to friends and family, and a lot of people use their personal assets, and most people use their own credit to grow their business. But as most of you said, most of you are actually going to your bank. Let me tell you the real statistic. Per the Department of Revenue, 1.2% of business loans come from conventional banks. How many people here think that's surprising? Pretty surprising, right? See, the problem is that we are trained to default to going to our bank when we need money. Where do you go when you need money? I go to my bank. That's the answer everybody has. Okay, well here's the real news. 98.8% of business financing doesn't come from your big bank. So here's the next question. Where do you go now? I don't know. That is the problem. The problem isn't that money's not available. The problem is people have no idea where to go to actually get the money. And as entrepreneurs, we're not CFOs. We have an idea, we have a concept. Our job is to execute that idea and the concept to make money for our family, make money for our employees. Okay, so our job isn't to know that. But unfortunately, it's getting worse. You know, in 2014, $108 million was cut from the SBA's funding, from the government. So the money is getting less, not more. So if you think the chances now that the economy is shifting of going to your bank and getting money are going to get better, they're not. Because almost all banks use SBA because SBA absorbs all the risk. Okay, and banks, they're not set up for business lending. You just saw it, most businesses fail. They're not designed for that kind of risk. They're designed for conservative risk. Business risk is just too much. So they'll go with SBA loans, but SBA loans, don't work for a lot of different kind of people. As a matter of fact, as Bloomberg says it, funding a small business, don't even bother with banks. Look, most notable expert sources in this will say the same thing. Banks are not the source of where to go to actually get money. 86% of businesses rely on business credit and financing to survive. They need it. They have to have money to survive. But unfortunately, 89% of bank applications are denied. Now, most of us in here won't even try to go to our bank because we know we're going to get denied. Like, we don't even bother applying. Of the people that think, I got this. I love it. My 6-year-old son says this all the time. I'm like, buddy, you need to study for this test. Dad, I got this. I'm like, so cool, dude. And then he comes back with an E+, which means excellent plus. I'm like, it's so cool that he does that. So people are like, hey, I got this. I'm going to go to my bank. I've got a full stack of papers, and here we go. But unfortunately, 89% of those applications are denied. And the people that even think they have a shot. Look, the old way of getting money is dead. It's not the way it is. We don't get all of our stuff together and go to our banker and say, Mr. Banker, let me plead my case. And then say, okay, that's good. It works. Let's do it. Okay, my dad used to be vice president of the bank, and he still tells me stories of old farm guys, because I live in born and raised in a small farm community, about they would just come in and a handshake and do deals. I don't like that anymore. Okay, the old way of getting money really is dead. Okay, and this is why I ask. Think about it. How many people have you ever met in your entire life? Because you're surrounded by entrepreneurs. How many of you ever met who actually got an SBA loan? Think about that. There are people out there that have done it. But usually, if you think about it, you can't really think of more than 1 or 2 people that have actually been successful. And even the people I talk to that have, they were successful like 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Well, 20 years ago, I got an SBA loan. Great. Have you tried now? Oh, no. I would never try now. It's just a matter of, if you really think about it, statistically, most people are not successful in this area. Because to get approved, you have to have personal, business, and bank credit be near perfect. That's a big one. Did you know that you have 3 credit profiles? You have your consumer credit profile, you have a business credit profile, which we're going to talk about today, and you have a bank credit profile. A bank has their own credit profile and scoring system on you that you don't even know about. Matter of fact, I can ask you what your bank rating is. Nobody in here knows because we can't even get access to the information, but it's there. So now you're playing an unfair game. Most people don't even know about business credit and bank credit, but yet they're 2 of the 3 factors that tie in to whether or not you're going to get approved. You've got to have excellent current and projected financials, tax returns, bank statements, resumes, business plans, background checks, and collateral. It's not that you have to get that stuff together. That's the stuff that's going to be dissected and combed over to make sure everything is perfect, to know if they're going to give you money. And trying to find out where their risk exposure is. And when they find it, it's usually the reason that they end up denying you. So look, most are not going to meet this criteria. Most are not going to get approved. You know what happens then? That's what happens right there. It's frustrating. If anybody's ever went through approval process of trying to get approved for money, it's frustrating. It's really frustrating. It's even more frustrating when you have a really good idea and a really good concept and it makes sense and people love it, and yet the person you're sitting across from the bank doesn't get that, and they won't give you the actual money. So over $6.7 billion is going to be lent this year to small businesses. So that's the great news. This isn't a problem that there's no money out there to be lent. It's a cash access problem. Again, it's not usually going to come from the big banks. The real problem isn't a lack of available credit money. It's the business owners don't know where or how to get the money. That's the problem. It's not that money's not there. It's that people just don't have any idea on how to go about getting it or where to actually go about getting it. So one of the first things that a lot of our clients know about. And again, for those of you that are our clients, I'm going to try to make this content be very useful for both of you, because I'm going to show this in a way that you should be showing this to your customers in a way that's going to help them understand the importance of these things. For those of you who don't know this, it's very important, because let me tell you what happens. Banks have a secret credibility test that you have to pass to get money. Okay? If you don't pass, you get denied. So when they look at your application, it has to meet set criteria for approval. And what's crazy is a bank will never disclose this criteria to you. They will not disclose it. They're not even allowed to disclose it to you. To me, that seems idiotic and backwards. Because the reality is, if you tell somebody this is what's expected, give them a shot to meet those expectations and then apply. Don't just say apply, know they're not going to meet the expectation, get them denied and not explain to them why. So there's a secret credibility test that you have to actually pass to get approved.
Before I met Ty Crandall, I'm one of these guys that's not really good at the business stuff, and I knew nothing about business credit. And in like a couple of minutes, he told me a few things that are so important. That you can limit your liability by having a corporation as separate, that is separate from your own personal credit. And just by doing that, it protects you from any problems that come along. I'm telling you, just setting up even limited liability, just worth any time that you can spend with them. And you'll be lucky if you can spend some time with them too.
I pulled him up last year. I got to show him again. Greg Dean is his name. He's a pretty animated guy, right? He owns a comedy training course in Los Angeles for about 20-something plus years. Whoopi Goldberg, Robin Williams are a couple of the students, amongst many others. Really talented guy. Been in business 20-something years and didn't know the difference between a sole proprietorship and corporation. Most of us, a lot of us don't. A lot of us just don't know those things. So it doesn't matter if you're just getting started in business or you're a veteran like Greg. A lot of people don't know things, for example, that you have to have an entity set up before you even start the process of building a company. And the entity you choose is very important. Because see, if you're a sole proprietorship or partnership, you are going to be liable, okay, personally. As a matter of fact, attorneys, doctors, this is part of why it's a requirement that they have certain entities they have to set up, because they can't do away with their liability. They have to set up entities where they are liable, okay? But the rest of us have a choice. And if we choose corporations, LLCs, we're not personally liable for our business debts. Anybody that's had a business fails, we get the value of that. But see, most of us don't think about failing, ever. Like I remember starting my credit repair business, and I think it was, maybe it was my wife or somebody else that asked me, what are you going to do if this doesn't work out? And I had a deer in the headlight look. I'm like, what? I hadn't even, like that. I'm filtering through things in my mind, and I realized I never even thought about that possibility. Like that wasn't even something that had ever come to me. And that's the way most of us are. Last year at one of the events, I asked how many people in here expect to fail. As you can imagine, nobody raised their hand. So most of us don't expect to actually fail, okay? And that's the problem. We don't think about our liability because we don't expect to ever not be successful. Okay? But the reality is that, again, a lot of businesses do. This is why you want to choose an entity such as a corporation or an LLC when you're not liable. Your business address makes a big difference. Okay? You can't go in and apply for money using a home address. I'm not saying you can't have a home-based business. I've had several successful home-based businesses. But what you have to do is on the application, you got to use a business address, not a P.O. box, not a UPS address. You need to use a real business address. So if you don't have a physical location, what do? Use a service like Regus, R-E-G-U-S. Regus will get you a virtual address, so you can have an address in a high-rise, building in Tampa that you get your mail at, but you're not physically at that actual address. Okay? The same when it comes down to your phone number. You cannot put your cell phone or home phone on an application. They will know, the same as they will know with your address. You need to actually use a business phone number. Now, it's ridiculous if you don't do this, because Ring Central is $9.99 a month, okay? And you can actually get a toll-free number, you can get a business phone number, and you can even make it your email address. Or have you ever done that, or get your faxes? So I do the same thing, virtual faxes. You can actually use a toll-free number and get a virtual fax. It goes right to your email. So nowadays, for $10 at a place like Ring Central, you can get it. And people ask me, is a voice over IP okay? Yeah, it's okay. Voice over IP is okay. Okay, so Google Voice, some of those options, those will work. But you can't use a home phone. You can't use a mobile phone. They'll know if you do, and it's grounds for immediate denial. Your email and website. You have to have a professional website. It's so easy to do. You know, back in the back of the room, when you talk about Biz Blueprint, they did our site for us. They're fantastic, okay? And they've done a lot of our clients' sites. Even if you're just getting started and you have a shoestring budget, you can go and buy a template on one of these templates like monstertemplate.com and put some content together. Put together a site nowadays for less than 100 or 200 bucks. That looks pretty good, okay? And again, you can go hire somebody to help you put up the website from a place like odesk.com. You can go to a Monster Templates, get a template and put it up. Is that what I recommend? No. I mean, if you have the money and you could get a really nice high-end site, you should. If you don't, you don't. But what you shouldn't do is use a Gmail or AOL address for your email. You need to have a professional email address. So again, and I use this example because it's kind of funny, is you can't be on there with your email address, partycheck2014 at Yahoo, and applying for money. It doesn't go over well with lenders. You need to use something professional. Mine's Ty at creditsuite.com. Our website's creditsuite.com. Synonymous, makes sense. And it's $12 to get the domain at GoDaddy. Okay? And it comes with email, so it's just too easy to not do. Your license and other docs. Your licensing, you have to be properly licensed. You need to make sure that your utility statements, you need to make sure that your bank statements, your corporation papers, you need to make sure that all of these have exactly the same name. And this still astonishes me really, is when you talk to Megan, and Megan will be on here a little bit later, she'll tell you that one of the biggest reasons that people got denied at the bank that she worked at was, for example, their name. They couldn't even find the company. They would apply without their DBA name, and then they would look for them and they couldn't find them, and they would deny them. It was such an easy fix. But can you imagine getting denied and the reason being because they couldn't find your name? And you never know this. They never tell you that. So you're like filtering through what was wrong with my business. And you never would think that the spelling of your name had to do with the denial, but it does. And what was frustrating is the banks won't even tell you that. They're not even allowed to tell you the reason they deny you. So even though it's a simple fix like that, you can't get approved. So you gotta make sure the name you're using includes your DBA on the applications. And it should be the same name everywhere, whether it's your bank statement, your corporation papers, your licensing. So this way everything is congruent. Because when lenders start to see things that isn't congruent, well, they start to get a little antsy. And that's not at all what you want to have happen. Your EIN number. Every business has to have an EIN number, or you're not really an entity. You're not going to be able to get money unless you have an EIN. Now, what I'm going to teach you today is that EIN number alone, you can build credit for. So the same as you can build credit for your social, your EIN number can also build its own credit profile and score. So an EIN has a lot of value because not only is it required to have an EIN to have a business set up and to have a legitimate entity, but it's also essential because you can build credit for it. You can have a whole separate credit profile that's just linked to that EIN. Now your bank account. We talked about a bank rating. So I'll tell you briefly how this works. A bank rating works like this. The majority of your bank rating score, your bank credit score, has to do with how much money you have in the bank. If you want to have the lowest acceptable score, you need to have about 10 grand liquid in your bank. Very few of you probably are in that position right now, and it's expected at this point in your businesses, but it's required if you ever want to get bank financing because they're going to pull your bank rating. That's when a bank rating is used, is when you go to a bank to get a loan. And if you don't have an acceptable bank rating, then what happens is they won't approve you. So when you get to that level, that's when you want to make sure that you have money in the bank because 10 grand puts you at what's called a low 5. And to get to a high 5, you need like 70,000 liquid just kicking back in your bank account. So you have to have a lot of money sitting in that bank account to have a good bank rating. And you obviously have to have a bank account open because nowadays people have these things called shelf corporations. Have you ever heard of a shell corp or a shelf corporation? So a lot of people, what happens is this. They go, well, hey, I'm going to buy a corporation that's been open for 3 years. And then everybody's going to give me money because they're going to think that I've been in business 3 years. Guys, they're smarter than that. I know. The billions and billions of dollars that these banks are bringing in, they figured out how to tell whether or not you've really been open for 3 years. What they do is they just look at your bank account open date. right? Because that's the first thing you do. If you're going to start taking money, you're going to open a bank account. It's one of the first things you're going to do. But have you ever had a corporation you just never did anything with? And, okay, I had corporations, 5 of them, that I just got them because I like the name. It's $60 in order to get one, right? So I just get the corporation and don't do it. I have an idea and it never takes off. Well, in that case, if I'm going to start doing business under that corporation, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a bank account. It's one of the first things you're going to do. So nowadays, a lot of lending sources will look at your bank account open date as the date that you actually open instead of when your corporation was actually set up. So 3 ways to get funding that your bank's not going to tell you about. Look, this is what it comes down to. What it comes down to is the fact that banks look at the whole picture. They look at everything about your business. They look at you personally. They look at your business. They look at how much collateral you have. They look at your personal credit. They look at your cash flow. And all these things have to jive to get money. And with a lot of us, like, we don't have all of it to jive. Like, we've got some parts about it, but not all parts about it. So for example, with my credit repair business, we did pretty good revenue. So we had really good, consistent revenue with very few chargebacks. But I didn't understand how much of a value that was because my bank never told me that. To my bank, that had no value unless I could prove it on my tax returns, which if we all have good accountants, we write off most of that stuff. So we always kind of miss in certain areas. But the reality is that you don't have to be good in all these areas. All you need is a strength in one of the areas to actually get money. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So for example, with cash flow financing, this is the most popular type of alternative financing that's out there today. When you go on Facebook, when you go on your LinkedIn, when you go on and type in something in Google and somebody says, no startups, get money fast with just a quick review of your bank statements, 1 year in business required. This is called cash flow financing. Okay, these are basically cash advances, okay, that look at a bank account management for approval. So you've all heard of AMSA, right? AMSA? You all have AMSA in your areas? I think they're as big as they are down here on kind of every corner. So AMSA will come in and look at your paycheck stuff and will lend you money just based on your paycheck stuff. Well, that's the way these work too. They're cash advances just for a business. They'll just look at your bank statement for actual approval instead of your actual paycheck. So if you have more than 10,000 in deposits, you can be approved. Okay, very fast, very easy way to actually get money. Okay, you have to manage your bank account responsibly. You've got to have consistent deposits going into your actual bank account. Okay, that's what's actually required for approval. So as long as you have consistent deposits going in your bank account, well, that's pretty much the major majority of qualification that you actually need. Okay, you just need to have consistent cash flow coming in. So you can typically get as much as 12% of your annual revenue advanced to you. So if you make $200,000 a year, well, you can usually get an advance initially for 24 grand, about 12%. I like to think of this 10% because it's just easy math, right? If I make $300,000 a year in revenue, I can get 30 grand. If I make 120 a year in revenue, then I can get an advance 12 grand. Pretty simple. Gives you an idea of about what you can get. And it's high risk lending. Okay? That no collateral is required. So this is phenomenal because SBA loans all require collateral. As a matter of fact, this is kind of where the catch-22. I mean, have you ever believed and be like, man, it seems like I need money to get money sometimes, right? I've got to have money to get money. This doesn't even seem fair. That's the way SBA is. You have to have collateral for what you're borrowing. I'm like, wait a minute. If I had collateral, if I had a bunch of assets worth what I needed to borrow, then I wouldn't need you. That doesn't make any sense to me. And then if you don't have enough assets on the business side, underwriting guidelines for SBA will require that you give up your personal home or whatever else on the personal side that you sacrifice as collateral. Well, most of us don't have collateral. So that eliminates all bank financing immediately because we don't. But with cash advances, you don't need that kind of financing. And as low as a 500 FICO score, you can get approved. Now, a lot of you are in credit repair. So this is where I love the finance suite. I love business credit financing because I had always thought that my customers that had credit problems could never get money. But with these, they could easily get money. Not only could they easily get it, they could get it within a few days, whereas bank loans would take many, many months to actually get approved. So collateral-based financing is another kind of financing. So if you do have collateral, then you can use that collateral to actually offset the money you're borrowing. Okay? And even as a startup with bad credit, you can still secure financing if you have collateral. So with cash flow financing, like I just showed you, you can have bad credit, you can have no collateral. With collateral financing, you can have bad credit, you can have no cash flow. So you see what I'm saying? If you have one strength, you can get approved. You don't need all three, you just need a strength to get approved. So if you were a customer who has some kind of collateral, well then you can get super low rates, even if you have bad credit. We can have somebody with a 350 credit score get account receivable financing and pay a rate of 1.5%. That's ridiculous. You can't even get that at SBA or the banks. But with collateral-based financing, you can get 2 to 5% rates on the money, even with bad credit, just because you are actually providing collateral. Okay, now some types of the collateral include account receivables, purchase orders. So this has to do with government or other businesses owing you money or you needing money to buy things. So I always use the same example because it's just a perfect example. That one of my buddies and first clients when I started doing business credit financing, he actually did the plastic mugs at Busch Gardens. You know, the ones you pay like $17 for like a soda with and it like looks like a dinosaur. I know because my kids have bought like every one of those that exists. I have like 10,000 invested in Busch Gardens mugs at this point. So these things he designs, he does. He owns a plastics company and he designs these things. But what happens is Busch Gardens gives him this big order. He has to buy the supplies. He uses the supplies to make the mugs. And then he doesn't get paid for 3 months after he delivers the order. So he's got to take all this cash flow to produce the order and he's out that money. Well, with AR financing, what happens is they get the money right away. 24 hours they get the money instead of having to wait. So that's a huge benefit to a lot of business owners because all of a sudden they had to use their cash flow and wait months to get paid. Now they can get the majority of the money in 24 hours. Or if he needs the money to buy the plastic from his supplier, he can get purchase order financing to do that. Stocks, bonds. The percentage of what? Well, what they'll do is they'll take an order. They'll give you 80% of the money. Okay, so let's say somebody owes you 100 grand. They're going to give you 80 grand tomorrow in 24 hours. The other 20 grand they'll give you minus their discount, which is their fee, once they actually get paid. Their discount may be 1.5% a month, something to that equivalent. So for example, in that case, he might pay a total of 2% or 3% to borrow that money. So what's nice about it is it's cheaper than them accepting the money with a credit card. So where it's good, for example, is let's say a doctor's office. Well, a doctor's office deals with Medicare, Medicaid, and health insurance. A lot of us in here have doctors that won't even accept one of those because it's so hard for them to get paid, right? Well, a doctor's office can get 80% of the money from Medicare to them the next day. Then the lender collects on that money from Medicare for them. So they fix a really big problem there because they usually, doctor's offices have one person and that's all they do is just chase money. We see people waiting for 2 years to get paid on Medicaid payments and health insurance payments. So it fixes a major problem because all of a sudden they've waited months or years to get paid on something, they can now get advanced right away. And at a 1 or 2% discount, well, that's cheaper than if they just would have accepted your credit card. And if you go into a doctor's office and go, hey, I just want to know, like, would it be cool if every single person just whipped out a credit card and paid you instead of you having to actually use Medicare, Medicaid, and health insurance? They'd be like, yeah, where do I sign up? Because of the headaches from actually trying to get paid on that. But with this, it works really well. So stocks, bonds, 401ks. A lot of people don't know this. We had a bar owner, couldn't get 15 grand from his bank, but he had a 401k from when he was a police officer, and as a result, we were able to pre-approve him for $750-something thousand in money. Guy couldn't get 15 grand in his bank because his bank looked at everything, and we said, well, you have a 401k worth value. You could borrow against that 401k and actually get a really good rate and be able to get all the money that you actually need.
What percentage do they borrow against the 401k?
100%. No IRS penalties. They can get 100% of the money they need to borrow against the 401k. Now, some people will say, well, why would you do that? Well, it's simple. What is a 401k? You're taking your money, you're investing it in other people's businesses, right? Maybe you're so sure about what you're doing in your business that it makes more sense to take the investment there. So again, it's a pretty good idea because you still can keep your 401k intact. You can still keep it invested in the same places that you have it. You can still, you get it rolled over with absolutely no penalty. You can borrow as much as 100% of what's in it. Stocks, you can get as much as 90% of whatever's in a stock or bond. So again, regardless of credit, regardless of cash flow, really low interest rates. Inventory and equipment. You can get money to buy both. You can get money to borrow against both. So people that have shelves of inventory or have a major piece of equipment that need money can borrow against those things and get money advanced to them. Or they can get money they need to actually get equipment. So they can actually buy the equipment. Even as a startup, you can get the money you need to actually purchase the equipment that you actually need.
If you're collateralized against the stocks, let's say your portfolio is worth that $200,000, for the sake of the number, and you're borrowing $150,000. If your stocks go down, is there a demand feature to supplement so that they're not underwater?
Where's Dax when I need him? I'm not sure, but I'll get you that answer. I'm not positive,
Because
but
lenders will do that.
yeah. Well, I'm not positive on that one specific question, so I'm going to get you with Dex to get an answer on that. But what will happen is you still get all the interest return from your stocks. You still get all the same benefits, but in that one particular situation, I'm going to get you an answer. I want to make sure I get you the right answer.
Because then if you say, hey, there's a short book, it's just the portfolio went down.
Well, they don't do that. If your portfolio goes, your portfolio is going to go up and down. So nothing changes that end. But how specifically that is, I'm going to get you with Dex. I'm going to get you a specific answer on that. So, right, inventory and equipment. So inventory and equipment are two other ways you can borrow against to actually get money. You can even borrow against real estate. So if you have commercial real estate, you can, or there's something called a rehab program. And with a commercial or with a residential rehab program, you can get the money you need to buy and flip real estate property. So you can get the money, 100% of the money you need to buy a house, rehab a house, and sell a house. And we have a few people in here I know that are in the real estate game. So this actually could be a huge benefit. Even an insurance book of business. We do a lot of these. So are there any insurance agents in here? Okay. Okay. So have you guys ever heard of book of business financing? Okay. So a lot of insurance agents have one, which is why I asked, because a lot of them don't know, and it's a great way to go. Because these are like 3 to 5 year loans, probably one of the best loans you're going to get outside of SBA. And you can basically borrow against the surrender value of your renewals, is what happens. So those renewals have value, and you can use that to get pretty low pretty respectable interest rate long-term financing. Okay, unsecured financing. So we talked about collateral financing, where even with no cash flow and even with bad credit, you can get approved. We talked about cash flow financing, where even with no collateral and even with bad credit, you can get approved. Now we'll talk about credit financing. What if you do have good credit or a good credit partner, but you have no collateral, no cash flow? I.e., what if you're a startup? You happen to know somebody with good credit or have good credit. Well, this is where unsecured financing is a great way to get money. Okay, but you have to have good personal credit or a guarantor that does. And if you do, you can typically get up to 5 times the amount of money that you would actually have from whatever your highest credit limit account is now. So if you have a high credit limit account of 10 grand now, then you can usually get 50 grand. If your highest credit limit is 20 grand now, then you can typically get 100 grand, even as a brand new startup business. So even as a startup, if you have a personal guarantor, you can get even more. You can get that for yourself. You can use a personal guarantor to get even more money if you want to do that also. And rates are only 0% for 6 to 18 months. As a matter of fact, somebody emailed me this question the other day. Hey, is there a program where you could take somebody that has high interest rate money and roll it over to on a business program? This is it. You could roll it over to a 0% intro rate for 6 to 18 months. And what's also beautiful about these accounts is that they're no doc. So again, even startups can qualify. Because even if you don't have financials yet, any at all, you can still get approved. And they report to the business bureaus. So this means not only do you get money, but you also build your business credit at exactly the same time. So that's pretty cool. So you're basically coming in. Now everybody wants a high limit credit line. Everybody wants a high limit credit line. But that's not how banking works. You're not going to go from having like a $10,000 limit credit card account and somebody give you 50. Like that'll never happen because you've never shown you can manage 50. If you've shown you can manage 10, you'll get 10. You go to your bank, they may give you 10. But with this program, instead of just getting 10, they'll give you multiples of those 10s to give you 50. Something your bank won't do for you, but something a good lender will. And the best part is those accounts build your business credit also. So I was just talking, who was I talking to that had that American Express card that was a business? That was awesome, right? Because it reports the business credit. Have you seen that account report on your business reports yet? Okay. So, and that's okay. We'll talk about that a little bit later today. So having any account that helps you build business credit in the process is fantastic. It's like you get double benefit because not only are you getting the money, but you're building business credit, which then ties into helping you get even more money right after. So there's also alternative financing. There's private money financing, okay, and there's also crowdfunding. So there's a couple other really good options that are out there available to help you get money. Now, private money is, we just closed a $250,000 private money deal yesterday, I think, right? Sandy, was it yesterday? Okay, so yeah, how that took like no time to get done, right? It was like instant. It was like an instant 3 months and we were done. Now, private money in SBA, it's not, cash flow financing. We can get somebody cash flow financing in 72 hours. But somebody wants long-term, low-rate money, private money, or fall out of SBA, then it takes a little bit longer, but still, $250,000. We had a lender come up from Miami to see us yesterday. He starts at $500,000. If anything at $500,000, I want to look at it. So there's a lot of private money that's out there, but it doesn't usually work like equity investors. Did anybody here ever see the show Shark Tank? Okay. So Shark Tank's a little different because Shark Tank, they want a percentage of equity in return for the actual money. What a lot of our private investors will do is they just want to see somebody that's an established business that has tax returns, and if they meet that criteria, there's a really good chance they can actually get approved and get money, and they don't have to give up a portion of equity in the company. Crowdfunding, there's all kinds of crowdfunding platforms out there you can get, and a lot of us have seen things go viral and get like tons of money. There's one thing, I saw this crowdfunding campaign that you put it on your stairs and it turns your stairs into a slide. I'm so buying that. I'm buying it. I think it's awesome. Like the whole thing becomes a slide. I can't figure out how to get around the wall at the end of our stairs. I don't even care. I'm like a couch cushion can fix that thing. So you can tell my kids have a lot of fun with me because I'm like, that is a brilliant idea. My 6-year-old's like, no, Dad, there's a million things that can happen. I'm like, stop, be so analytical. I'm like, stop him, let's go, let's do this. It's actually funny because my son is like that. So I never had to like parent him. He'd like come up to something like, is this a good idea? I'm like, do it. I think it's a brilliant idea. Go for it. Like I'm a guy that skydives and does all this crazy stuff, so I'm not afraid. I'm like, that's brilliant. He's like, no. My daughter will just do anything that's well beyond her physical limitations, and she will fail, and then she'll come back, and she'll keep trying to do it. Now, if you have kids that are like that, like she doesn't understand that she does not capable of doing that. So it's very, very, very different. But when it comes to crowdfunding, you can actually go out, and if you get something that goes viral, like a really cool stair slide, then you could actually get quite a bit of money from crowdfunding. Okay? But in a lot of cases, crowdfunding works by the harder you work to put out there that you have a campaign, the more money you're actually going to get. You can even get specialized funding to buy equipment, signs, vehicle wraps. We ask a lot of people, why do you need money? Why do you need money to buy equipment? Well, then get equipment financing. You don't need a loan, you need equipment financing. Well, I need to put up a commercial sign. I need to put a vehicle wrap on my vehicle. Well, you can get money specifically for those purposes. So then you actually don't need to get like general money, which might be more difficult to go. So when it comes to business credit, here's the deal. Business credit's a catch-all solution for anybody that needs money, period. Because everything I just showed you, I showed you a few different options. I showed you what if somebody has collateral, what if somebody has cash flow, or what if somebody has credit, they can get money. Here's the question, what if somebody has none of those? Or what if somebody has those but they want more money and don't want personal liability? Well, business credit's a catch-all. Anybody can get business credit. How long has your business been open? Okay, you can get business credit as soon as you open it. That's cool, right? So is it going to help you to like have money to grow the business right from the inception? Well, that's what business credit does. And that's what's cool. You see, the rest of us, we never knew that. So like what happens is we try to grow our business and our business has little profit, and then we try to use the profit to pay ourselves and grow the business. And it's like this perplexing thing we're always faced with. But with business credit, you can get money right at the beginning to actually build your business right away. It doesn't matter if you're a startup. It doesn't matter if your credit's 450. It doesn't matter if whatever. There's no circumstance that matters. Anybody can get business credit. But here's the problem. Most people don't know about business credit. You have to know the secret handshake to get in. Okay? You have to know about it or you'll never find it on your own. Okay? The first few people that asked me about business credit, well, I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you the story. Hopefully I'm really not flying on time here. I'm probably not flying on time. But so what happened was when I first found out about business credit, one of my clients had asked me about it. And he was a buddy of mine, and I wanted to find an answer for him. Other people had asked me about it. They said, well, tell me about business credit. So I Googled it, and as I was talking to him on the phone, and nothing showed up in Google for like pages and pages. So I'm like, well, business credit sucks. It's horrible. Like, it has to, because Google doesn't know it exists, right? Google, if it doesn't exist on Google, then it just doesn't exist. Like the rest of it, like if it's not on the first page, then I'm like, this is horrible, whatever it is you're asking me about, because Google knows nothing about it. So I can tell you. But this guy was different, because he was a buddy of mine, and I'm like, I need to figure this out, because people keep asking me. And when I found out about it, I remember sitting down, and the more I learned, I could not believe that business credit was even possible. So when I finally came out of this haze, like hours had passed. You ever have that happen? Like you sit down to play a video game or watch a TV show and you're like 9 series in, and then like you're like, whoa, it's dark outside. I have no idea what just happened in the last 6 hours of my life. That was my moment. And I realized that this was absolutely real. But what I realized was that most people just don't know about it. 90% of business owners know nothing about business credit. Okay, it's usually because the CFOs, the financial minded, once your business grows to a level that you get a CFO, then they know about it. And that's why. So it's like a secret club of people that know this. And if you're in the club, well, then your chance of success is going to be a lot greater because you're able to get money from inception on. And if not, well, it's a whole different other problem. So what is business credit? Well, this is just simply credit that's in a business name. Okay, the business builds its own credit profile that's linked to the EIN. So you have a profile linked to your personal credit, right? Okay, so your business can have one too. And it really functions pretty much the same. You know, just as you have credit linked to your social, business credit, you get credit that's linked directly to your EIN. Okay, but with business credit, the business name, it's in the business name, and it's based on the business's ability to pay. This is why it matters so much to all of us. I just photobombed her. It's so cool. She's not getting a picture of that slide. She'll go back to that slide. So with business credit, here's what helped me. My customers were credit repair customers. So my customers' credit was trashed. And I couldn't help them get real money, which is what a lot of them needed. But with business credit, I could. Because since it was in the business name, it didn't look at their personal credit. So because of that, even when they came to me with a 450 credit score, I'm still able to help them get business credit because it doesn't matter what their personal credit situation is because it's in the business name based on the business's ability to pay. So with an established profile and score, the business then basically starts to get credit. And I'm going to walk you through this exact process later today. You start with getting vendor credit, you move into getting store credit, Staples, Lowe's, Office Depot, Sam's Club. Okay, then you can even start qualifying for credit lines and loans based only on your EIN. So now, not only can you have access to all this money you can get that's linked to your social that most of you have always known about, but now you have this whole other world of money you can get access to for your EIN. You just need to know the handshake. I'm going to teach you the handshake today. It's like, I'm not going to reveal it all now, but it's exactly what it's very similar to that. So with business credit, you're able to really build this credit profile linked to your EIN to actually get money, even get credit. So why is business credit awesome? I think I got another one of my cool little
Thank you, Ty, for sharing your insights on business credit. I'm a Canadian representing several investors from Canada, acquiring investment properties in the U.S. Been doing it for over 20 years, and no one has ever mentioned that
Watch
we
his
get business
eyes.
credit. And several of our clients obviously are doing business as companies here in the U.S., but they didn't know, and I didn't know, that we could actually expand our portfolios more by actually knowing that there's two sources of credit, business credit and personal credit. So this is going to allow us all to accelerate our network, and we're going to have a lot of happy faces in Canada. Thank you.
Now I chose this for a reason, because anybody here last night that saw the eye tracking cues, you could see he's thinking about the wild ways he can use this. He's thinking about all these instances. You can see it filter through instances where this would have made a difference. Like he's going crazy. And a lot of people that we expose business credit to go through the same thing. I can watch with their eyes and filtering through this process of imagining what's possible, of going through situations where it could be beneficial. And that's the way we all think of it, because once you really realize how powerful it is, it's actually pretty amazing. So first of all, it doubles your borrowing ability. Why would you want it? Pretty simple. Now you have a profile linked to your social. Now you're going to have a profile that's actually linked to your EIN, so it really doubles your borrowing ability. It has nothing to do with personal credit. Well, this is a really big deal, okay? Because again, as we know, 30% of our credit score is based on utilization. So if somebody gets something for their business with a $1,000 limit and uses more than $300 on that, well, they're going to hurt their personal score. And one of the biggest factors in your personal score is inquiries. So the minute you start using your personal credit to even look into getting money for your business, you hurt it. Then you also hurt it as you overutilize it. Not to mention the fact that you, as a business owner, you are going to utilize more of that credit. And when you do so, again, your scores are going to go down. It's fast to establish initial profile and score. Okay, and that's one of the reasons I love business credit the most. We all want money quickly. So on my credit repair business, I had such a huge advantage over every credit repair. My favorite call was a guy goes, "What's the difference between you and Lexington Law?" "Well, it's simple, sir. I can get you about $50,000 in business credit within 6 months when they can't get you zero." "Okay, I'm sold." Done. And honestly, that's such an advantage because we can get them money so fast. You see, with FICO, you have to have 6 months of pay history for FICO to even give you a score. In the business credit world, you can have a score and profile within 90 days. And then beyond that, within 6 months, you can have $10,000 Visa MasterCards. You can have store credit cards at places like Amazon and Best Buy within 2-3 months. That's crazy. You can't get a $5,000 Dell card within 3 or 4 months on the personal side. You can't. It's impossible. But on the business side, you actually can do those things. Business credit scores are based on only one factor. So here's how the FICO works, right? 35% of the score is payment history. 30% is utilization, length of credit history 15. Okay, so let me tell you what this means. You're screwed. I mean, think about it. You just think about this. So what you're telling me is that payment history is what matters most. So I've got to get accounts that I can pay as agreed, but when I try to get accounts, then I lower this portion of the score. And since I get brand new loans, well, then it lowers my score because my utilization is maxed out. Well, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So I've got to have a good credit mix, which is 10% of my score. But in order to get that, I have to have something like a mortgage and car loan, which I can't get right from the beginning. And when I get a brand new mortgage and car loan, well, then those max out my utilization. So then this portion of my score, I'm confused. But I can tell you what, this is why it takes years and years of well-disciplined borrowing to establish an excellent FICO. But it doesn't in the business credit world. Here's how it works. It's pretty simple. Do you want a good score? This is what you have to do. You have to pay your payment prompt. That's it. That's all you have to do. Your paydex is based basically on that one factor. Do you pay your bill on time or do you pay it late? Do you pay it early? How do you pay it? It's what determines. So all you have to do to get a good score is get some accounts that report, pay them as agreed. And the minute you do that, you're immediately rewarded with a good score. So because it is so fast and easy to do this, this is what actually sets you up to be able to have a score much faster than you'd ever see on the personal side. No personal liability, we talked about this. Look, I lost everything because I signed personal liability to my business. And I'll never do it again because now I have kids and I've learned my lesson. And I've got their future to worry about. So I will not make that mistake again. And none of you should. You see, you don't understand. It's not supposed to be this way. You know, people always ask me, they say, "Ty, I followed the steps you've taken to build business credit, but they still ask for the social on the application." They'll always ask for the social on the application. Why? Because you give it to them. Why not? They say, "Hey, do you want to give me personal liability?" You say, "Yes." They say, "Thank you." Well, if you say no, they say, "Okay. Well, then we'll look at your EIN credit." And they say, "Oh, your EIN credit's good? Okay, we'll give you approved with no personal liability." You see, our credit personal can't sustain a business. It was never meant to. You think Michael Dell is using his personal credit to sign off on $250 million credit lines for his business? It's impossible. Once your business gets so big, it outgrows your personal credit profile. It's designed to do that. It's designed to take on its own credit profile and use that to grow to a whole other level. It has to do that. So no personal liability, you're not personally liable for your actual business debts whatsoever. Oh, thank you so much. You really read my letter. I'm sorry? Hit me up after. So the business credit approvals are 10 to 100. This comes from SBA. So as again, what happens is your business, you personally can't sustain your business. Your business grows well outside that. So what happens is You can get a $5,000, $10,000 Dell card within 4 months. You can never do that on the personal side because you don't need a $10,000 worth of personal computers. Dell knows that. But Dell also knows that when you set up an office like I did my mortgage office, I needed $7,000 worth of computers. 10 grand ain't a lot of money when you're filling an office full of computers. Naturally, you have more of an appetite as a business than you do on the consumer side, so the limits on business credit are much, much higher as a result. And it's perfect for startups. Okay, so business credit is absolutely perfect for startups because, again, you don't need cash flow, you don't need collateral to get approved, and you don't need cash flow, as I said. So you don't need cash flow, you can get approved even as a startup business, even if you don't have tax returns to show your actual income. Plus, you get a competitive advantage. It's like I said, I had no competition. My credit repair business took off so much that I sold it less than a year later when I incorporated business credit because I eliminated every competition. There was no competition now. When anybody came to me and said, where are you different? I'd say, this is where we're different, and we help you build your corporate credit. And they said, well, I don't have a business. Well, have you ever wanted to own one? Yeah, well, let's do it right now. I'll not only help you get a business set up, I'll help you get credit under the business name. A lot of them, 30% of our clients own businesses. They needed money anyways. So once we told them we could help them fix their credit and get a bunch of money with their business at the same time, well, then there was nobody else out there that was offering something like that. So we basically were the only obvious choice. No collateral requirements, as we talked about, and it's easier to grow a business, as we all know. When you have money, it's just easier to grow a business than if you don't have money. We all know that. Again, we looked at this. Why do businesses fail? Well, because people make mistakes. And if they don't have a lot of extra money to give them the buffer to make those mistakes, then they unfortunately go out of business. A broken AC unit then pushes them out of business. But when you have money, it's just easier to grow the business. So you're just starting your business, and you're going to do credit repair, right? Okay, so here's the deal. You're going to have to buy paper. You're going to have to buy stamps. You're going to have to buy all this stuff right away. But you can use business credit to get all that. So right from the beginning, you could use business credit to get your paper, get your supplies, get your computers for your team, get everything you need. So that's a lot easier than using your personal money, right? Or your personal credit to do so. But those are probably alternatives you might choose.
I had a person that had millions of dollars and wanted to do something on the business side, and they still were giving them a loan.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have business credit.
Well, and that's something most people don't know about. Most people don't know that banks do pull your business credit. They won't tell you that. Because you see, the Fair Credit Reporting Act requires they tell you when they pull you consumer credit. And they tell you what bureau they use to make the decision. But in business, they don't. So the problem is they do this and you never even know about it. But the bottom line is when you're starting a business like credit repair, for example, and you're able to get paper, you're able to get supplies, you're able to get all the things you need using credit and build your credit from the business at the same time, it's like dual benefit. Now you're not using your personal money. You can keep it there as a buffer, but you can use the business credit to buy all the supplies and essentials that you need, and along the way, be able to get more money and improve the credit profile of the business. And it's also essential to sell your business. I've sold businesses, okay? I've bought businesses. And I can tell you that anybody can look at your business credit profile. Anybody. I can look at your business credit profile right now. I can look at yours. I can look at any of yours. As a matter of fact, later I'll even run some of yours if you want to see some basic stuff on there. Okay, so it's essential to sell your business because anybody who wants to buy your business is going to look, and if they see you have no credit established, well, then they're probably going to lose interest pretty quickly. Look, every highly successful business in this country uses business credit. And I can see right now I've got a few more slides, so I'm probably going to be 3-4 minutes late, but we're going to keep on a pretty tight schedule today, so we will get back on the next presentation in 4 or 5 minutes. So every highly successful business in America has business credit. Look, it's a fact. You cannot tell me any private or publicly owned company in this country that's highly successful that doesn't have business credit. If you look at a company like Facebook that honestly hasn't been around that long, okay, less than a decade, they've got 40 trade lines with experience. Just link to one of their addresses. If I run multiple addresses of theirs, they're going to have more than just the 40 that you actually see there. If you look at a company like Dell, well, Dell has 83 trade lines for business credit. Okay, every highly successful company has business credit. So here's looking at Microsoft. Well, they've been around since the 70s. So it's what you'd expect. They got 131 trade lines. Here you go. There's Apple, has 138 trade lines, been around since the 70s also. Okay, Pilot, Flying J, 153 trade lines. Here you go. There's Publix. They're in Lakeland, right down the road. Oh, man, Lakeland. They got an air show going on right now. Oh, we should have done a field trip today. That would have been awesome. Just realized this. This is brilliant. We just got to help me link airplanes to somehow this, and we are next April. We are going business credit to buy a plane. That's exactly what we're going to be doing. But most of you have heard of a company named Walmart. Yeah, me too. Right? All right, Walmart. So let me tell you something most of you might not know about Walmart. 85% of the products that Walmart sells are actually purchased by Walmart after they're bought from you. They're brilliant. This is how it works. I'll explain it. What happens is this. You go to Walmart and buy paper towel. They have this awesome inventory management system that tells them they're low on paper towel. They go and get from their actual trade vendor that sells them paper towel, they buy more paper towel. But they don't pay them. They use business credit to finance the paper towel they buy. Then they put it back on the shelves, and then the next person comes and buys the paper towel. They use the money they get from that sale to actually pay the money they borrowed from the vendor. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Is that freaking brilliant? It's smart. 85% of the products that they sell are purchased before that they even buy them. That's brilliant right there. Okay, and that's also why when you look at it, they have 513 trade lines. Does anybody think Walmart needs 513 business credit trade lines? They're smart. They understand the value of using other people's money to grow. And some of us are still stuck on the consumer side. We listen to Dave Ramsey. We're like, Dave says no debt. You can't build a business that way. You have to be able to use other people's money to grow. It's how every business gets as big as they are. Hugh Hefner borrowed people money from like 9 people to start Playboy to begin with. And maybe that was a horrible example for this crowd. Maybe it was a perfect example. We'll soon know. But look, here's Jose. I don't know if Jose's in here yet. He's one of our clients. Okay, we started helping him build business credit. So see, some of you think, well, okay, this is great, Ty, but now the reality is that this only works for these big guys. Well, here's Jose. Jose started with us. Okay, he started building his business credit a couple years ago, used his business credit cards to pay his way down here. That's what he does. He uses his business credit cards to pay his way to the boot camp. So if you think nobody can do this, here's an example of somebody that has 8 trades. Doesn't seem like a whole lot. Then again, Mars only has 22. You hear of Mars make candy bars? Yeah. Well, he's got about, I don't know, a third as many as they do, and he just got started. Guys, anybody can do this. Anybody. And later today, we're going to actually walk you through the actual steps of building business credit. But now you need to know that every successful company has it. It's a requirement to get big. You also need to know you can get it right away, immediately. And you can also see that very quickly you can start catching up even to the biggest companies that exist in this country. So, before I forget, I'm going to send everybody to break. I do have something that I always forget to mention at these events, and they're actually called boot camp assets. A ton of free resources, training stuff, and actually later I'm probably going to pull these up on the screen. I'm a little bit late right now, I don't have time to do it. So all you have to do is pull out your cell phone and text the word, and I got to be honest with you, I did this just so I could say the word ass up here. I know it's so immature, but I just had to do it. So assets is the word you're going to test. You want me to spell that for you, Paul? It's assets. Okay. To 855-982-1820. And you're going to get an email, and you're also going to get a text link. You can't click on the link that you get in the text to download because it's a zip file. It has like tons of videos and stuff in it. Guys, there's a credit repair kit in there that teaches you about credit repair. I'll go over all the stuff you get a little bit later. But there's email content, there's videos, there's press releases, there's articles in there, there's a credit repair kit, there's all kinds of resources on the credit repair and business credit side you're going to use and you're going to love. And I always forget to give them out, so I figured out a solution so I don't forget. Okay, so now what we're going to go ahead and do is we are going to go ahead and I want to introduce somebody. And Megan, I'm running a little bit late. Is Megan here? Megan is here. Okay, perfect. So I'm running a little bit late. So now what I want to do is I want to introduce somebody else that's very, very, very vital to our organization. So when I first learned about business credit, Megan was actually one of the first people that taught me what I knew. She actually helped me start getting started offering business credit and financing to customers and helped me understand business credit. Megan is actually one of the leading bankers in the country for one of the biggest banks in the country at one time, before she got frustrated with this process of people not being able to get approved and decided to actually come in and do something about it. So we've been very blessed to work with Megan for a long time, and I don't know how many people she's helped, 15, 20,000 people build business credit. But she is the absolute epitome of a guru in this space. She knows more than I may ever know on business credit. And today, I think she's going to have some really powerful message for you, because if a lot of you feel like you're not familiar with business credit, she's done some really cool stuff that I think you're going to love that will show you that a lot of the top even CEOs don't know much about business credit. So I got to tell you, for all of our clients, you will never understand the